everyone, and good evening, and welcome to Behind the Mic Radio. I am your host, Dawn Mack. So very glad to be here with you on this Tuesday evening. I hope that your week is off to a wonderful start. Mine certainly is, and I must tell you, if you're a first-time listener tonight, then you have picked the right night to tune in, because our guest tonight is just phenomenal. Some of you who are tuning in obviously know who our guest is, and I won't spoil the surprise just yet. But at the same time, it's just an honor to have him with us, because he's just legendary. I mean, he's done so many wonderful things. And to give you a little bit of background on him, our special guest made his film debut at the age of 12, singing in the chorus of Song of Love. He has appeared in a myriad of films, including Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Diamonds or a Girl's Best Friend, White Christmas, There's No Place Like Show Business, Brigadoon, and Meet Me in Las Vegas. He is best known for his role as Bernardo in the iconic film West Side Story, a performance that earned him a Golden Globe and the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. He went on to star in many films alongside many industry greats, living a life with passion for the creative arts. Drew him quite by chance to jewelry making as a hobby, and what began as a hobby became a full-time appreciation for design and construction and a new creative outlet, which became the George Chakiris Collections. Recently unveiled in Japan, the George Chakiris Collections are on display in Tokyo's prestigious Mitsukoshi Department Store, and we are so very proud and honored to welcome tonight George Chakiris. Hello.
Hey, hello there. Thank you for that very nice introduction. Thank you. Nice to be with you.
Oh, thank you. It is so nice to have you with us. And I first want to begin by congratulating you on your stellar career, because you have quite the extensive resume. I mean, you've done a lot of different things, and it's so very impressive. So congratulations on a much successful career.
Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate that. Gosh.
Well, as I was kind of reading through the intro, and as I've been just discovering all the many movies you've been in and all the people you've worked with, I guess the first thing I want to start out by asking you is how did you embark on such an amazing journey that led you to the career that you've had?
I'm sorry, could you say that again? I had a noise here in the house, and it crowded you out. Sorry.
That's fine. I was asking, to start tonight, I wanted to ask you, how did you embark on such an amazing journey with the career that you've had? Well,
I've been so lucky. First of all, I've had such a great time. I've met fantastic people. And I just have loved everything almost everything that I've worked on. I always dreamed of being. I didn't know what acting was when I was a kid or dad. I just wanted to be in movies where we lived. We had no theater, no. So I didn't know what live theater was. Of course, later I learned all of that. But it's just been this whole voyage. Has been. Fantastic, and now switching, so to speak, from working as a performer, and which all this jewelry thing happened very accidentally, but it's turning out to be equally exciting and equally it's been great. All of it has been so wonderful.
Well, you've worked with some of the biggest names in the industry. I mean, when you're talking about Marilyn Monroe and Rosemary Clooney and so many different, Natalie Wood, I mean, you've had your fill of working with beautiful women and amazing actors. Who would you say is someone you have enjoyed working with the most?
Well, the most. That's wow, the most. They're all of it. They're also fantastic. But Natalie somehow, because I worked longer. It took a year to make West Side Story, so we all spent a year together. So I got to know Natalie really well, and I absolutely loved her work and her talent as an actress, her presence on the screen, her beauty on the screen, everything. But I loved her in person as well. She was just a fantastic young woman. She was just amazing. I was really, really happy to meet and work with Natalie Wood.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and even to this day, people still, kind of revere her and are just mesmerized by her beauty and her great talent. And to be able to yourself work alongside her in one of the greatest movies of our time, West Side Story, I know that had to have been quite the experience, not to mention the memory, of being able to do that.
If I ever see what? I'm sorry?
I said it must have been quite the thrill to be able to work alongside her on West Side Story.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was. We had the best time in the world, all of us. And working on that movie, none of us had any idea that it would be successful. That's not something you think about. You're just concentrated on the work. But I think we all felt we were working on something of quality, something that's great material, and so we all had a real deep love and enthusiasm every day that we were working for because of the people we were working with, Natalie, Jerry Robbins, Robert Wise, the beautiful Leonard Bernstein score. Yeah, it was an amazingly special piece. Everything felt so good.
Definitely, and you could see that on screen. That comes through in the movie. I've watched it many times. It's one of my all-time favorite movies, and you could just tell that you guys worked so well together as a cast and crew.
Yes, absolutely. I think it was what you would call a happy set. Everybody appreciated, again, the material. There was such a special atmosphere. We laughed a lot. We played a lot. I mean, there was all of that going on at the same time, and that happened because we all loved what we were doing and working with each other at the same time. But the thing that really brought us together was the material, and then, of course, Jerome Robbins and Robert Wise directing, and that beautiful score by Leonard Bernstein. It was just such great stuff. We were all so lucky.
Oh, definitely. Why do you think that West Side Story became the big hit that it did and continues to be a favorite among many today?
Well, I think one of the beautiful things about West Side Story is that what it's about, racial tensions and gangs, but it's I'm sorry, I'm losing the words I want, but oh God, it's relevant today. What West Side Story is about it's all happening around us as we speak today. So everything in West Side Story is still relevant to what's going on, certainly in cities across the street in this country. It's I don't know, just the prejudice. Prejudice is such a strong, unfortunately, a strong aspect of not just our society, but societies across the world. And so that's one of the strong, I think, things in West Side Story. There's much more, of course. I mean, I think young kids, it's surprising, but it's beautifully surprising that they respond to this piece the way they do, because it is about young people. But it also has music that for some reason a young person, it's not typically what young people hear when they go out dancing or when they buy a record or something, but this somehow reaches deeper into even into a child's heart, So, but it's very relevant today. I mean, I think that's why it still has continues to have a very strong life.
Most definitely, and I do believe that the West Side Story was so well ahead of its time because of the main core theme in it being, the tensions there and the prejudices. And you're right, that does exist in society today, and so many people can identify with it, even now. I mean, and you're right, it's the kind of movie that will always be timeless and will remain relevant to whatever era of time we're in, for sure. What is something that you can share with us about the movie that many people may not know, be it behind the scenes or on screen?
Something that I can remember that maybe isn't generally known, you mean?
Yes, yes.
Well, let's see. Now you're going to make me think. One thing that I think is known, but maybe not generally known, and that is that West Side Story in the theater, when it opened in 1957 in the theater, it was produced, directed, and choreographed by Jerome Robbins. And then, of course, Leonard Bernstein did the music, and Stephen Sondheim did the lyrics. So when the movie took place, Jerry came in to co-direct with Bob Wise, which I think was a very, very smart choice, because Jerry knew the piece better than anybody on the planet. And about 6 months into filming, Jerry was no longer with us. He was fired because they thought he was taking too long. He was such a perfectionist, not only with him, first of all with himself, and then by just in his work as well. But he always could find a better way to do something. In the theater, you can keep doing that, but on film, because you're on a schedule, and you go over budget, you don't want that to happen. So I was really so shocked when he was gone. But so I don't know if people generally know this, but thank goodness that by the time he was gone, most of the picture was on film already. So we were able to carry on without his presence and still have his quality, know what he wanted us to do. But maybe that's something that people might not generally know, and that is that one of the directors of this incredible film was fired that maybe 2/3, something of the way through, because the front office thought he was taking too long and it was costing too much money. That's one thing that comes to mind, but I'm sure there's more. But right now, that's all I can think of. So.
Well, that's incredibly interesting, and when I think about the film in its final form, how well made it was, you can obviously see that his influence was very strong, because the movie is just short. I mean, it's just perfect. I mean, the way the story was written, the way it was performed by all of you, and the way it was delivered, I think, really does exude and speak volumes about his perfectionist nature to make the film the best it could possibly be.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yes. Yeah.
Now, late last year, I think it's fair to let fans know, and in case they may not know, you received what many refer to as Hollywood's highest honor when you had your hand and footprints placed in cement in connection with the 50th anniversary of West Side Story. Congratulations to you on that.
Thank you very, very much. That was another great, nice thing. It was terrific. We loved it.
Oh, I can only imagine. And what was that experience like for you? Because that was kind of like, for me, it would be kind of like having the ice cream sundae and the cherry on top, because it was tied into this 50th anniversary of the movie. So all the more special, than it would have been, I'm sure. But what was it like for you?
Well, I'll tell you, while you were asking me the question, I thought there were different things. I mean, first of all, I took dance classes just back in the early 50s, just very close to Grauman's Chinese Theater, and I rented a room just down the street. So, and I had a scholarship at the school, so I would clean up at the end of the day. And when I was done cleaning, I would walk down Hollywood Boulevard. I would pass Grauman Chinese Theater every night. So a lot of really beautiful coincidences. First of all, to be cast in West Side Story, the premiere was at Grauman's Chinese Theater, and the night that they announced the Academy Awards themselves were at the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium. But then 50 years later, after the premiere at Grauman's Chinese Theater, at that very same theater, and that incredible forecourt, all those wonderful handprints of so many fantastic people. I mean, who would have thought that something like that could happen? But because it's just in your wildest dreams kind of thing. So it's so amazing to all of us.
I imagine that for you that had to have been quite surreal to at one point in your life envision what it would be like, never even realizing that one day your hands and feet would be in cement, and you would be part of that. That's amazing in itself.
It is amazing. It really is. It's great. Amazing. Right.
Well, And speaking of your dancing ability, I wanted to share with you that it wasn't until some years ago that I connected the dots and realized that you were the male dancer that was featured in White Christmas, specifically the dance number Love You Didn't Do Right by Me, sung by Rosemary Clooney. And I must say, you are quite the dancer, and that number was so mesmerizing. That is one of my favorite scenes in that entire movie. It's that scene of her singing and you dancing. It is amazing.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. That was another movie where everybody, stars all really, 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 really liked each other. They had great time with each other, and again, it was a happy set. Everybody involved on that production was having a good time, and I think that what it shows when you. That you can just feel it when you watch something. At least I think you can. Yeah, but that number that Rosie Clooney did, "Love You Didn't Do Right by Me," is one of the things I love about that number is, first of all, Rosie in that beautiful gown that Edith Head designed for her, and against this red background, and we're all in black, and there's something just very striking about that. But Rosie doing that song was just the best. Just the best.
Oh, yeah, and I couldn't have imagined anyone else singing that song. She did it justice, and it was absolutely phenomenal. But the whole scene in itself was just, as I said, it was one of my favorites of the entire movie. I always love to see musicals where there's dancing and there's singing anyway, and that was just quite special. And then when I realized that it was you, and the West Side Story connection, I was like, oh, my goodness. So that was such an epiphany for me. And but even to this day, that's another one of my favorite movies. Well, I could talk to you for hours on end about your amazing career because you are so interesting. But before we run out of time, I want to talk to you about the George Chakiris Collection and ask what first drew you to jewelry making as a hobby?
I have two dogs now but before I had one little dog. I lost him about 10 years ago. His name was Sammy, a little Italian greyhound. He looked like Bambi. I was always away when I was working anywhere, England, France, Japan. I would be gone for months at a time. So the last time I was working I was working in England, and when I came home from that after about 8 or 9 months, I looked at this little guy, my little dog, and I thought, 9 months is a long time out of his life. So I decided I was going to stay home and just be with Sammy, because he deserved my presence. And then I started taking a jewelry class, and that became over because I loved making something, especially in this beautiful silver material. It was great to sort of design something and then have it turn out to be something you could actually pick up and hold in your hand and look at it. I don't know. There was a great satisfaction in that sort of creative process too. And so I just kept going, not thinking of it in a business way at all. But with time, I did have a collection of maybe 30 or 35 pieces, and a Japanese distributor saw my pieces, and he picked them up like right away. So it became more than a hobby. But I never thought of it as more than a hobby to begin with. It really was just my way of staying with that beautiful little dog.
Oh, and and to think about that, you were doing something for the good of your dog, and one thing kind of led to another, and the next thing you knew, you had this full-fledged business, that kind of had created itself almost, And as I understand it, your jewelry has been worn by, gosh, some of the biggest names in the business too, and we've seen it everywhere. And I'm curious, how did you happen upon it going to Tokyo? I know you said someone from Japan saw it and picked it up right away, but how did that happen? Did you actually travel there and someone saw some pieces, or how did that connection get made?
The collection?
Yes.
Is that what you asked?
How did your connection to Tokyo? How did that happen to where you now have it on display in the biggest department store in Tokyo?
Because a West Side Story was loved in Japan. Over time, I developed a relationship with a manufacturer downtown here in L.A., and this buyer from Japan saw my pieces, but he didn't know they were by me. When he found out they were by me, just because of the popularity and all that stuff in Japan, it was even that much more interesting to him. So he was the first person who distributed my pieces at Mitsukoshi Department Store in Japan, and then we have moved on a little bit to other places where we're in negotiation right now with I hope it happens, a major fast chain here in the United States, well, actually all over the world. So, but I'm not a business person. To me, making the jewelry is what I like to do. The business part escapes me, and I need help on that. But it all everything it's like one day is different to the next. One day you feel like nothing's happening, and the next day is something. You feel there's always a forward movement, and I'm putting this so badly, but it's things sometimes take time to quote unquote fall into place, but when they do, then it's very gratifying to feel that what you've been thinking about and at reaching a point where you sort of dream about it, or you really would like to have it be successful rather than just a hobby. And it's nice that it's become a bit more than that. We've got a long way to go, but it's a great journey because, again, it's the people you work with. And one of the things I like about jewelry, by the way, is I'm not the product. The product is something out there on a shelf, and somehow that's another interesting dynamic, too. But this is an overall answer to your question, sorry. But it all started with my Japanese distributor in terms of actually getting into the business of actually selling things in department stores.
That is a perfect answer. I really appreciate you elaborating, because that is so interesting. And pardon me if I say this, but it almost seems like you've had such a charmed life in a way, because you've had so many wonderful opportunities. You've worked with some of the greatest people in the world in showbiz, and now your jewelry collection is just second to none. And is being worn by people in the industry, and your talent as a jewelry maker has been acknowledged, and you're seeing much success with that as well. And so I think that overall, you have so many accomplishments that it's almost too long to name. I mean, it's just amazing the success you've had, and it's been a wonderful ride, I'm sure. For you, with many, many memories to boot along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been really lucky, and again, I've been lucky with the. It's been lucky. It's been lucky and very nice, and it is nice to be able to do different things. There's an organization in New York called Transition for Dancers, because in the ballet world where somebody's career really is just dancing. And in the ballet world particularly, there comes a time when, the body doesn't do what it did when you were 19 and 20. So this really great organization, Transition for Dancers, it's two of the women on the board are Angela Lansbury and Chita Rivera, but it's there to help people who had one career transition to another career. I did it myself, but just by being lucky. But again, the thing is that everybody has more than just that one talent. People are multi-talented. I think most people are, but they don't realize it until they get the chance. So everybody has more than one thing that they can do and that they can excel in. And then I was so lucky that wanting to stay home with my little dog, that I discovered jewelry and really liked it, because it turned out to be, so far anyway, a pretty nice transition. So, but again, that thing of people having more than one talent and different aspects in a lifetime in terms of their profession is so many people have those abilities.
And I think that is an absolutely brilliant idea and program to help people transition. And because you're right, I think we are made to do more than just one thing, and we're very multifaceted as human beings.
Yes.
And so to live to our full potential, we need to tap into everything that we are gifted with. And sometimes we don't know until we reach these roadblocks in life, and we find we need to make a transition. So that is a lovely program, and what a great way to help people continue moving forward, and so that they don't feel like that they've reached the end, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly, and I think it's an encouraging thing to know about and realize, if you can, that because sometimes when one thing comes to an end, instead of thinking, "Oh my God, it's over," there's always something more and maybe even more interesting to do. It's something always there, and I think it's nice for people to have that kind of optimism,
Oh, yes, definitely so. Well, unfortunately, we are now out of time, and I cannot thank you enough for coming on our program this evening and just sharing about your career and your life and your amazing jewelry collection. And I have no doubt we're going to be seeing much more from you as time goes forward, and look very forward to it indeed.
Okay, well, I hope you're right. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you, and we wish you much continued success as you journey along.
Okay, well, thank you so very much. I've really enjoyed talking to you. I appreciate your questions. They're great. Thank you.
Thank you, and have a great evening, and all the best to you.
Okay. Thank
you. Good night.
Good night.
Well, folks, we have been speaking with Mr. George Chakiris, and many, many of you know him as Bernardo from West Side Story, but he's much more than just Bernardo from West Side Story, as you've been hearing over the last half hour. He is a quite successful jewelry maker. He has the collection, and if you really want to go and check it out, I encourage you to do so. You can go to his website, GeorgeChakiris.com, and his pieces in the collection are shown there. There's also lots of nostalgic photos from him being on West Side Story, And it's really an interesting site, and it really does show the history of his life in pictures. But the jewelry is there, and it's quite stunning and exquisite. And it's no surprise that it's landed in the biggest department store in Tokyo in the world. So it has been such a pleasure speaking with him, and we want to say a huge thank you to him for being our special guest this evening and joining us on our program. We also want to thank all of you for being here as well. It has been quite an exciting 30 minutes speaking with him and just having the opportunity to speak with a living legend. I mean, I'm still kind of blown away. I mean, he was in West Side Story. I mean, when you think about his career and some of the people that he's worked with, Marilyn Monroe, Rosemary Clooney, Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye, Natalie Wood, and the list goes on and on and on and on. It is quite amazing, the things that you learn about someone who has had that long of a career and a successful career to boot. So we certainly hope you enjoyed that interview with Mr. George Chakiris. And so that is actually going to bring us to the end of our program for this evening, and we certainly hope that you enjoyed our show, and we thank you again for being here. And if you're brand new to our program, thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope that this will not be your last visit here. And trust me, we still have some great guests coming over the month of October, and so you'll want to definitely stay tuned. So with that, I'm going to say goodnight to everyone. I hope the rest of your week goes very well, and we'll see you back here again very soon. Take care, all. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Thanks for listening to tonight's show. You can connect to Behind the Mic Radio on Twitter at BT Mic Radio and on Facebook at Behind the Mic Radio. Check out our website at BehindTheMicRadio.com. Also, follow us right here on Blog Talk Radio, where you can stay up to date on all upcoming shows. Every episode is available for immediate download upon the conclusion of each broadcast, and as always on iTunes. Thank you for joining us.